Good morning, all of you. Today we'll be starting with module number 4, aggregate planning. The term aggregate means it is expressed in homogeneous units of output. The number of units of outputs such as number of automobiles or tons of steel. So there are three types of planning in the industries. One, a long range planning. Second, intermediate range planning. Third is short range planning. So aggregate planning is a planning that is uh, that comes under intermediate range planning. Whenever we are starting a business or an organization, or we think to provide a service or manufacture a product, the first important thing is we have to plan about the long term. We have to prepare a detailed long term planning. It consists of we have to do a detailed market survey regarding the product or the service that we are going to start. We have to select the best location or the site for a business, for a service industry. We have to see what is the market demand, where our market is, whether the product will survive into the market or not. Doing a detailed market survey and doing all these things using different forecasting techniques, which are scientific techniques, using all the techniques, studying the market environment, then all these things come under the long range planning. So once we complete the detailed long term range planning and we have decided now to set up a plant in a particular area, and we have decided our vision, which is a long term, then we start with intermediate planning. So intermediate plan is a plan where once we have decided about our vision, then we start thinking about what should be the production, what should be our production in short term, every year or every 2 years, how many number of units should we produce and sell to the customers. So intermediate plan is nothing but a mission. It is a mission, a short term mission for 2 years, 1 years, 3 years, etc. So that is why aggregate planning is called as an intermediate planning, which is expressed in homogeneous units of outputs, as I said before. Correct? Once an aggregate plan is ready, it is followed by a master production schedule. So master production schedule is nothing but it decides how many number of units are to be produced per quarter, for a short period, per quarter, per month, per week, per day, or per shift. So it decides the specific end products or models. So all this aggregate planning and the master production schedule comes under aggregate planning. So aggregate plan and master production schedule is an intermediate plan where whenever the production levels fluctuate, whenever the market demand fluctuates, then we make use of different strategies such as overtime, or increasing the inventories, or giving subcontracting, etc. So all these things come under intermediate planning. If you see the difference between aggregate planning and the master production schedule, we'll come to know that aggregate planning is a mission for 1 or 2 year, a mission for short term, which expresses the homogeneous units of output. But master production schedule, which is the backbone of the manufacturing industry, it specifies the number of end products, how many products are to be delivered to the customer during one quarter, during a particular period, during a particular month or week. This is called as master scheduling. So once the master production schedule is ready, then comes the materials requirement planning and the capacity requirement planning. Material requirement planning is a computational technique which, after deciding the target for a particular period, the materials requirement planning uh, splits the assembly into sub assemblies, and each sub assembly into number of components, raw materials, etc. So it prepares a detailed list of materials, raw materials, components required for the particular period to manufacture the product. So this detailed list of raw materials or the components required for manufacturing is called as bill of materials, BILL, bill of materials, or BOM. What is capacity requirement? Capacity requirement is the planning of the requirement of different resources such as men, skilled, unskilled laborers, etc. So after the master production schedule, the material requirement planning and the capacity requirement planning comes. So these plannings come under short range planning. So this is explained in the block diagram shown into the screen. Why actually the aggregate planning is to be done? What are the objectives of aggregate planning? Because the first objective of aggregate planning is to keep a balance between the demand and the capacity. The market demands are continuously fluctuating. We need to keep a balance between the market demand and our available capacity. So this is the main objective of aggregate planning. At the same time, different variables like men, machine and materials are also fluctuating. So in such a case, we have to take a right decision whether to go for overtime, whether to go for subcontracting, or to increase the inventory levels. Such decisions can be taken correctly if you plan systematically. The third objective is we need to keep a control over the costs and the benefits. If you don't plan systematically, it may backfire and there are chances that you may be under loss or the different cost increase. Correct? The next point is aggregate planning strategies. What strategies you are going to adopt when the production levels fluctuate? What strategies you are going to adopt when the market demands are fluctuating, the technologies are fluctuating continuously and keeping the managers under continuous pressure? So there are several strategies are there. The first one is employment. If the market demand is high, we recruit different skilled and unskilled labor. But when suddenly the market demands goes down, we need to terminate the temporary employees or the short term employees. At the same time, when the market demand is increased, we need to go for overtime, part time, etc. Or sometimes due to low demands, we need to keep some machines idle. We need to increase the inventories. If the demands are less, then some companies continue the production and keep the inventories. They go on increasing the inventories, and suddenly when the demand increases, these products that are uh, kept in the inventories are brought into the market. Sometimes when the demands are high, some companies go for giving subcontracting to certain small companies. Certain companies go for increasing the plant capacities also. These are the various strategies of aggregate planning. Correct.